For our group's presentation, we are talking about connecting literacy and social studies in the classroom. I'm Caitlin, and for my slides, I'm going to be talking about connecting literacy and social studies, but making social studies more social in the classroom. The article I read was called Bring the Social Back to Social Studies, Literacy Strategies as Tools for Understanding History. The authors McPhee and White Cotton really talked about literacy strategies and how they really promote critical thinking and discourse that lead to more complex understandings of social studies and literacy. They talked about how literacy is not just reading and writing, but also listening and speaking. And that discussion is such an important literacy tool in general, but it really enhances student learning in social studies. So, enhancing social studies with literacy. So, like I mentioned, discussion is such an important way for students to really be able to make those further connections in social studies. Discussion is a natural way to bring everything together. Students are able to think and explain their reasoning for things and why they think things happen and kind of analyze their thoughts. They're able to reflect and connect to important historical figures and events. They're able to better visualize by discussing and kind of working through their thoughts. And they're also able to question why things happen. Why did this important figure make this decision? Later in our presentation, Ashley's going to be talking about disciplinary literacy and specific principles and how they may look in the classroom besides just discussion. So group discussions are a great way to kind of further those listening and speaking skills. It is so beneficial to have small group or partner discussions where students are able to kind of share and be heard and kind of begin to make connections and share their opinions. And in whole group discussions, it's kind of a great way to build on those ideas that were talked about in small groups, which is a great way to more further our understanding. So as far as using text in the social studies classroom, it is very beneficial to use a whole wide variety of text, including picture and trade books, articles, interviews, video clips, informational text, all different kinds of text in the classroom. Something specific I want to talk about, though, is using historical text in the classroom. Historical text is a great way for students to kind of build connections to historical events, but also to get a good view of how it was to live back in that time and experience to kind of develop their understanding of history. It allows students to kind of make connections to historical characters and kind of understand different perspectives. In the article I read, the authors talked about the book Chains by Laurie Halse Anderson, which talked about a 13-year-old house slave in New York City during the American Revolution. And it was a great way for students to kind of get a view of what it was like to be 13 during the American Revolution. Another great historical fiction text is Number the Stars by Lois Lowry, which really gives students a good view of what it was like to live during the Holocaust. Another great strategy to use in the classroom is subtext for historical figures. This is a great way for students to really give a voice to historical figures and kind of start to figure out why different important figures did what they did. Why did they make decisions? How did they think? How are they feeling? And it's a great way to use the text to help understand that, and then students get a chance to present and to kind of share their presentations of a specific character, and this really encourages conversation as well. Another great strategy in the classroom is tableau, which a tableau is a dramatic expression or a scene where students can create to kind of further their understanding of a historical event. It's very artistic and students can be creative. They create and portray and perform this tableau, this scene, of a historical event, but then it's a great way to lead to conversation and to have students question and respond after presenting. Another great way to use social studies to be social and to encourage discussion is nonfiction two-fold or two-page spread. It's a great way for students to have an interpretation of a historical event, and they can use facts and pictures and writing and all different kinds of things to show their critical thinking process, and encourages discussion and reflection as well. Later on in our presentation, Sherry will be continuing to talk about different strategies, but more specifically, new literacies in the social studies classroom.